Hello, I'm Shane. I'm the routing specialist, and I've been here, I started in 2017. Well, I was already in pest control as a technician, and honestly, some of the places I worked, I like to work, but the environments weren't that good. So it was actually my wife that happened to find Triangle Pest Control, so I decided to give it a shot. Absolutely loved the interview. Seemed very chill. We were talking puns to each other. Signed on then I was a technician, and they best training I've had, so I loved it. They like to see people take extra training, we have our certifications for pest and termite with the state you could do, and Triangle encourages stuff like that. So of course I got the certificates, and they set out to be looking a lot more appetizing to people, because it's just, a lot of techs at a lot of companies, they don't have to do it. They don't, it's all optional. Most of them choose not to, but Triangle supports it and encourages it. So I went and got them, and of course I had other companies started hitting me up once they ended up on my history. And then essentially they all lied to me to poach me. Of course, after going to these other places and realizing that the best training I've had and the best company culture I had was at Triangle, I was begging to come back essentially, and here I am. So I loved being a tech for years. I was actually helping train other techs, but then some personal family issues came up, and I wasn't able to be a full-time out-of-the-house technician anymore. So I went with Triangle. Went up to the managers like, hey, I don't want to leave, but my situation is kind of dictating I can't do this for the foreseeable future. And they're like, well, we don't want you to go, so let's try to find something else for you. And I guess the one good thing with the job hopping for a little bit there, I did learn how to do some routing. So I brought that up, and they're like, hey, we could use you for routing. And then they helped me find a more work from home, still full-time position, and kept me in the company. I've worked for other places where you've had life issues come up, and they're like, hey, well, that's your problem. If you can't do this role, then you're gonna have to go. Here, this is the first place I've been where they hopped on. It's like, well, you've been here for a few years now. We already like your experience. Let's try to keep you here somewhere else. That's saying a lot. Most places are just, you throw up the peace sign. I'm like, all right, see ya. So, and I'm sure my situation changes. I'm like, hey, can I go back to being a tech? They probably like, yeah, just help us find, help us train another router to take her spot and go back to being a tech. They're pretty flexible about stuff like that. So if I was talking to myself or a new person, I'd say just take it day by day, because there's so much information that's gonna be coming at you, but they do it in a way where you have patterns to go off of. It's like, well, I might not know anything about earwigs, but if I de-web the house, spray the way they're telling me to spray, or treat the way they're telling me to treat, do some baiting the way they show me to do some baiting, I should have resolved that issue regardless if I know anything about earwigs. So you follow that. A lot of it comes with time too. Our pests change seasonally, so if you start in the middle of winter, you're going to be dealing with a lot more mice, so you might not know much about ants. So just know ahead of time. It is going to take some time to get to a point where everything's kind of second nature, but just trust the training. The training is the best here. Anywhere else I've worked, the training doesn't touch here. It takes a special kind of person to be in pest control, because you got to go to a lot of interesting places, like crawl spaces and going in and out of people's houses. So for me, it's always just been the bugs. That's the big thing I've always liked. But yeah, it was funny, because when I actually came into it, I didn't like spiders. I was scared of them because I didn't know anything about them. But then I got in this field, and the more I'm interacting with the spiders, the more I start to like them. And now I'm actually about to order my first tarantula. So it definitely changes you.